My mother was a seamstress sewing clothes in the garment district. After work, she would sew more clothing so that I could be there. The attitude of the military academy was very, very clear. If you're white, you're all right. If you're brown, hang around. And if you're black, stand back. All these white kids, rich. They made it clear to me. I spent 3 years there, and everybody would go home for vacations except me. So I'd spend the time on the military campus. Because I knew my parents couldn't afford to keep me there, I decided I'm going to work my ass off and make them proud. And I did. You can't imagine a dining room with 150 spoiled little brats, and you trying to be a waiter. Milk, I want milk. And then, all right. More soup. I mean, no idea of treating other people in a way that, you feel a little respect. I started off as a waiter, and in the third year, I was the head waiter. From washing dishes, serving food, I worked, and at the end, I was the head waiter. And I would walk around, and all the other waiters, they go into the kitchen, and they'd be there crying. I said, what's the matter? So-and-so threw the bread at me in the face. This one threw the soup on the floor, And I said, hey, it's okay. I would try to give him a little support. I said, it's all right. The prestige in this military academy was the football squad. If you could be on a football squad, you were hot shit. My body hasn't changed since 14, but I said, I'm going for it. I'm going to go into this football. Did I get my ass kicked in, man? All these guys, boom, boom. And not because I was fast, not because I was big, I was determined. The biggest guy I would tackle. I didn't care about myself. I'd just throw myself in front of him. And at the end of 3 years, I was captain of the football team. Be small, all these big guys. All right, we're going to do this. Blah, blah, blah. All right. The other big thing was the student council. The student council is in charge of the military academy. They're the voice of all these students. At the end of the 3 years, I was president of the student council because I worked. I worked my ass off. The next thing was I became president of the senior class. And that was, man, I was great. I had all these titles and acknowledgments. And I remember my father and my mother coming, and I walked on the stage for graduation. I got my diploma. I got a little gold football. I got a certificate for being president of the student council, president of the senior class. I come walking down, and my father was crying. He was so proud. He grabbed everything and just... It was like, that's mine? I never saw it again. I think it was like his son. His son did it. I remember we're not very rich, and he came walking in to the graduation, used shoes and old suit and all these other families walking around with mink coats, diamond rings, and my father looking like some laborer who just walked out of the street. And I walked around with him so proud that he loved what I was doing. And I could see everybody looking at me and my father like, that's your father, you know? He looks like a Chinese worker or something like that, but I was proud. I was proud because he was happy. I did it for him. I wanted him to be proud of me. I had been in a hospital. He was so shocked he wouldn't talk to me. 3 years later, when I graduated, he came and he watched president of senior class, captain of the football team, blah, blah. And I looked at him and he was just crying. I thought, hey, I can give him something back. I have to mention that all the students would leave for vacation. My mother wanted me to stay on the military academy, and I would sneak off. I go to New York City, an hour and a half away. I'd hitchhike, and I spent a couple of weeks running the streets, using drugs. When it was time to start the new school term, for 3 years, I would come back and I'd say, I have a cold, I'm sick, and they would put me in the infirmary. And they didn't know that I was detoxifying from drugs. They didn't know that. I'd be in the infirmary, they said, oh, he has a cold. Yeah, I got a cold. You know? So that's the other side. I was working hard to make my parents proud. At the same time, in the summer, spent about 2 or 3 weeks running the streets, using drugs, coming back, detoxifying. I had a teacher there. Beautiful man. He was from Niagara University, Niagara Falls, New York. And he was a professor. And he was a priest. And he liked me very much. So we would spend time. And what got me was, from him, how he got me was, I tested him out. I said, if you died and you discovered that there was no God, and you had a chance, no God and no heaven, and you had a chance to come back to earth, what would you say? And he blew my mind. He said, I would tell everybody that God is beautiful. I said, a gangster. He's a gangster. He believes in what he's doing. And that's when I became his friend. I would share everything with him. And it was because of him that I went to Niagara University for a year. I wanted to go to the Art Institute of Chicago because from the hospital, I loved art. I sent my best pieces I won a prize for a boxer. I made a copy of a boxer. And I won a prize for it. It was called The Inquisitive Boxer. I put all my pieces together. I sent them to the Art Institute of Chicago. Very prestigious place. To get into this institute, you have to be really, really good. They sent me back the message, the letter. We received the portfolio of all your work. Unfortunately, when they arrived, they were all broken. But what we've seen you, we accept you to the Art Institute of Chicago. I was so happy. I made it. I worked my ass off on these, and they received it. It was broken. They still liked it. I tell my mother, I want to go to the Art Institute of Chicago. I want to go to the Arts. And she says, no, you should go to Niagara University. She says, artists don't earn any money. I said, okay. I come from a family of generals, doctors, musicians, and she wanted me to be a doctor. I want to do art, but because artists don't earn money, I didn't go there. Okay. This priest, he was like another father figure. He ended up telling me about his life, about what it meant to be a priest. And I was always so touched that he was sharing, again, like Mike Serkel, sharing his heart with me, sharing his life with me. And he says, I want you to go to Niagara University. It's a good university. And I felt, wow, if he wants me to do this, and he thinks I can do it, I'll do it. I did it for him. And because my mother wanted me to earn a living. Next stop, I get busted. I'm in a prison for drug addicts, a place called Lexington, Kentucky. Giant penitentiary. Big, big, big. Same body. I'm walking around scared to death. Because if you're not careful, you get raped. Go to the showers, throw a towel around your head, and they fuck you. I was walking around scared. I find my way to where they do recreation. And I see all these people going into a room. So I'm checking everything out. And I look in the room, and these guys are in the room with combat boots, thick sweaters, and they're all doing karate. I thought, I should do some karate, because if I'm not, they're gonna abuse me here. Big black guy, he'd been in Korea. He's a teacher. I come walking into the class, and in order to go into the class, cigarettes, packs of cigarettes, that's money in a jail. You got cigarettes, it's like money. I said, I want to join the class. All these guys are in there. He said, you want to join the class, huh? It's a pack of cigarettes, which means a lot of money. I said, yeah. He said, stand in the middle. I go and I stand in the middle. I'm wondering what. Circle of about 20 guys, all with their combat boots on. He says, show me what you got. I said, what do you mean? And then, whack. I said, what? Hey, wait a second. Whack. Whack. They're using me like a punching football. Pow. pow, doing all this, pow. I said, what the fuck? I fall down, my nose is bleeding, I'm shocked. And all I want to do is just hit one guy, just one fucking guy. And I'm swinging like fucking crazy, whack, whack, whack. And the guy, he says, stop. He says, you got a lot of heart, you're in the class. I didn't know that everybody who joined the class had to go through this. I didn't know that the majority of the people would end up on the floor crying, saying, no more, no more, no more. And all I wanted to do was just hit one guy, just one guy. I just wanted to hit one guy. And he liked that. He liked that. He showed me Okinawan karate. Okinawan karate is, you see other karate schools, they start a match, you go down like that. Okinawan karate, if you go down like that and look at the floor, they kick you. They say, hey, look at that. You go, huh? Pop. All dirty tricks. I needed that because I was scared. I needed that. I spent a lot of time with this guy. Again, he was like a big brother. And this special approach happened. He started to share with me who he was, what it meant to be black in the army, and the discrimination he had over and over and over. So he became a karate teacher. And I could hear his heart. He said, man, I have been fucked over so many times. I never got a promotion. I was always, I guess you would call it a misfit. And I would listen to him. I say, wow, wow, wow. One day, because at the end of the class, he would stand in the middle and say, all right, come. And everybody would try to reach him, and it was contact. It wasn't like, it was real contact. And then one day, everybody turned, and I ran right into him, and I hit him, and I grabbed him by the legs, and he fell down. And he started to laugh. He said, you got me. I said, yay. He's big. He could have turned around and beat the shit out of me if he wanted to, but he liked my spirit, And I loved that he shared his life with me. He just wasn't, I'm a teacher, you learn this goddamn technique and you do it like that. He was involved. He wanted to know how it was upstairs. Is anybody, Is there anybody putting any candy under your pillow? That meant they put you, if you go into your cell and you see candy under there, that means somebody thinks you're a pussy and they're gonna fuck you. He'd say, anybody put any candy underneath your pillow? I said, no, man. He said, that's good. And I felt, oh, good. He would be there for me. He says, anybody puts any candy under your pillow, you tell me, man, I'll kick that fucking ass. I said, all right. His heart was there. He cared about me. And for him, again, I was learning exactly what he wanted. I ended up on a farm so that I could build myself up. There was this tractor filled with cow shit. I'd have boots. I'd step into the tractor, the cart of the tractor, and I would shovel. First, right, and then left. I didn't want to end up looking like Quasimodo, So I'd be out there shoveling, and then I get these punching bags. I'd be punching and punching. And then I would go into where the pigs were kept. And there would be 2 entrances. And I'd crawl into the entrance, and I'd scream, and all these pigs would come running out. And as they would come running out, I'd be on my knees, pow, 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 pow. Because I wanted to understand what contact was. And these poor little pigs would be screaming. This was my karate training. At the end, before I left, he said, we don't give out any belts here, man. But you have something more than a belt. You have your heart. And I was so proud. That was it. No black belt. You have a lot of heart. He recognized me. I thought, hey, I felt good. I felt like I tried really hard. And he opened himself to me. And I wanted to learn as much as I could from him. Years later, 14 years later, of running the streets, the city of New York, 35 years ago, something longer than you have been alive. City of New York only had about 250,000 addicts at the time. They wanted a new program, a drug-free program. They went to the hospital. Different hospital, Manhattan General in New York City. They were looking for addicts to start this program. I was lying in bed the 7th time. My pajamas were ironed. I knew how to do it now. My pajamas were ironed, my bed was perfect. On the side, I had all my cigarettes. I was a professional patient. I would take my cigarettes and throw them on the floor because I knew the attendants would come by and clean them. People from Phoenix, Southworth were gathered together from different programs to make Phoenix House. A place called Sannyasin, California, Daytop, Puerto Rican programs. They brought them all together. The city of New York wanted to do something. So they said, we're going to start a drug-free program. We need to find drug addicts who are clean. And I happened to be in this hospital, and they came walking in. Ties on, briefcases. And I remember when I saw them walking in, I said to myself, the man is here. The man is the police. The police is here, you know? And they called a meeting, and they said, we're ex-addicts. I said, everybody in the hospital, oh, this is bullshit, man. These guys can't be ex-addicts. I've never seen anybody looking so good as an ex-addict. They spent about 6 months with us in the hospital, convincing us to start a new program. They lied to me. They said if you join the program, you'll become an addiction therapist. We will take away your jail history, and you get a job working for the city. And all of us said, right on, that's what I want. They didn't say it'll take about 3 years to get there. They just gave us this big carrot. You'll become an addiction specialist. That's what I want, that's what I want. We all joined the program because we were clean. That was one of the criteria. They take us to this jail, ex-jail. I walk into this place. It used to be a jail, now it's empty, and now they want to make a Phoenix House out of it. I remember 31 of us from this hospital. We get there, you open the door, and what do you see? Rows and rows and rows of triple beds. All the way down, all the way down. I remember a truck arrived, and they said, if you want some food, you have to empty the truck. I remember looking at my friends, what? What the fuck is this? In the hospital, they provide everything. Now, we have to empty the truck? And they were very clear, if you don't want to empty the truck, you don't eat. I said, oh shit. So we emptied the truck. We managed to make some soup. And we're all talking, I'm getting out of here. I said, yeah, I'm getting out of here too, man. This is not a hospital, man. They want us to work. They want us to work. I couldn't believe this. After emptying the truck, I remember we were exhausted. We've never done so much work in our life, man. And we had already made a plot. As soon as the ferry comes, we're catching the ferry. They were so clever, they stopped the ferry. They said, you want to sleep? Go find yourself a bed down there. Rows and rows, 3-deckers, not 2-deckers, 3-deckers, close, so that they could fit all the people from jail in there. We got mattresses, we put them on the floor, the 31 of us. Around 12 o'clock at night, we're all exhausted, we have a plan. If that fucking ferry ever comes again, we're on. I had a director at the time, his name was Victor Biondo, ex-mafioso. He got shot in the leg, so when he walked, he had this little limp. And the city of New York had hired him because of his experience to work with us and start this new program. 12 o'clock, we're lying there, exhausted. Victor comes walking in, clapping his hands. All right, everybody up, everybody up. We're gonna have a marathon. I looked at my friend and said, these people are crazy. They want us to run around the island. You know, marathon for me was almost like running. I said, they're absolutely crazy, man. They bring us into a room, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and coffee in one corner. And in this room, they start confronting us over and over and over. And I've never seen anything like that. People from Synanon and Detox, very clever. Anything you said, they turn it right around and say, bullshit. I had become a professional addict. I knew how to talk to a psychiatrist. I would give a psychiatrist whatever he wanted to hear and blow smoke up his ass. If it was a psychoanalyst, and I tell him about juicy dreams about my mother and watch him go, oh really, you know. I knew exactly how to say exactly what, all the professionals. Social workers, I grew up in a mixed neighborhood. I don't know whether I'm white, brown, Spanish. I'm really in trouble. You know, I'm a miss. And the social worker would say, oh, don't worry. Everybody I knew how to talk to. But these people scared me. I was so scared. I never saw a therapist involved. It was always, you are a test tube. And we look at you, we don't want to get contaminated kind of thing. These guys, I was watching them. They were screaming at people. And at one point, they were telling their life histories. And I thought, this is too much. My first marathon, I'm sitting in a corner with a blanket. I'm watching these people talking about the things they've done in their life. And it's horrible, killing people with rat poison instead of dope. The most horrible abuse stories in your life. And they were sharing it, and that's not on. You never share anything with anybody. You always keep it together. You never do that. And I was saying, what the hell's going on here? Every time they say, you ready to work? I said, nope. At some point, they said, are you ready to work? And I was shaking. And they said, you're afraid. And I said, no, I'm not. Victor had his eye on me for the whole marathon. At the end of the marathon, all these guys that had shared their most horrible life experiences were crying and hugging, and I just never saw anything like that, this kind of involvement. And I remember at the end, I decided, I'm getting out of here. All the people in the middle, all the therapists crying together, hugging, and I started to sneak my way out of the room, thinking nobody saw me. And just as I get to the door, I look up and there's Victor. And he grabs me. He's Italian. And he goes whack against my face. And then he pinches my cheek. And he says, hey, Goomba, if you stay, I'll give you everything I know. And then I just cried. I cried, and he hugged me. Then he brought me to the rest of the group. I felt like a real misfit. I thought, I really don't want to have anything to do with this. This is too much. You know, I don't mind talking, but emotionally, I don't like that. And it was because of him that I'm here today. I was out. I was going back to New York City, and I wasn't getting involved in this madness of people crying and yelling and screaming at you because of what you've done and what you haven't done. People talking about guilt and what they've done. And it was Victor. He knew that if I sat in a corner and I boiled for 48 hours, something was just as important as me being involved. And I remember grabbing Victor and said, okay, I'll stay. I was crying. It took me about 3 months after that in Phoenix House to say hello to Victor. Every time I'd see him coming down the hallway, he'd come into a room, I have to go, I would find an excuse. I was so afraid of this amazing authority figure. And then they asked me to paint his room, his office. I'm painting his office, and Victor came in and said, wow, you're doing a great job. Thank you very much. I said, oh, really? You like it? Yeah. And he gave me a hug again. But 3 months, every time I saw him, no. Authority, he knows me. He can see through me. I better get the hell out of here, That was my attitude. I said, let me avoid this guy. And for 3 months, you wouldn't believe it. I found every kind of excuse. I'm walking down the hallway, ooh. I'd go every kind of other way because he was so overpowering. I've never seen a therapist give his heart. Once they made a video of him, and he was crying on the video. He was saying, isn't it amazing that what we consider the scum of the earth, one day I'm going to help the drug addicts of New York City. And he was talking about us. And we were watching him on TV. And we were crying because Victor, our man, he was telling the world, yeah, we fucked it up, but we're also going to help the world. And I felt so proud. Once, one of the addicts wanted to leave Phoenix House. And he's trying to get out the door. And Victor says, if you want to leave, I want my teeth. And the guy said, upper plate, lower plate? He said, the city of New York gave me these teeth. He said, bullshit, they're my teeth. If you want to leave, I want both plates, up and down, or else you can't go. The guy stayed. I said, what an approach. I was in love with a girl while I was in the program. Just a few weeks later, Victor calls me into the office and says, listen, your girlfriend, she's in another program now, and she doesn't want to have anything to do with a drug addict like you. She's involved with a guy from college, and her life is really great, and she doesn't want to have anything to do with you. And I remember saying, that bitch, that fucking bitch, she's involved with a guy from college. Shit, what can I do? You can't compete with a guy from college, So I worked. I worked in the program. I worked. Like I worked at football in the military academy. And this was a mind-blowing thing. 6 months later, I'm a big shot. I'm a coordinator. I'm walking around showing other people how to do things. Victor wants me in the office. I said, oh man, I've done something wrong. Always, I've done something wrong. I go into the office, I'm holding my breath, and Victor says, hey man, remember what happened when you arrived in the program? I told you about your girlfriend, that she's in another program and she's involved with a college guy and she doesn't want to have anything to do with you? I said, yeah, I remember. She said, I lied to you. I lied to you so that I could keep you. And I said, you lied to me. And then I looked into his eyes and I understood. He cared so much about me. He was willing to lie to me to keep me. And he said, you can now go see her. She's not involved with a college guy. She's doing really great. And we've been in contact with her, telling her about your progress. Once again, I just broke down. I said, nobody in my life has ever cared about me that much, that's willing to lie to me just to get me to the next step. Nobody. One of the guys made it out of the community. He left. Victor comes on and says, where's so-and-so? He left. And you could see he was enraged. He said, you, get a car and bring his ass back. This is a voluntary program. All the guys said, all right, Victor. They saw him in the street trying to get dope, and it was like a kidnap. They grabbed his fucking ass and they threw him in the car. He came back, and he was happy to be back. That's not conventional therapy. It's not conventional therapy. Lying to you, demanding teeth back, kidnapping people from the street. That's not conventional. How about this one? Oh yeah? You junkie motherfucker? Shave his head. How about that one for a therapeutic approach? They would shave your head. You know why? We all thought it was a therapeutic technique. It was only to work on your image because they knew you would not walk out in the street with a bald head. That's all it was. We were saying, this is deep shit, man. I wonder what this is about, psychological. It was only to keep you there so that they could work with you for a little while longer. I was always so touched with this unconventional way of working, this involvement. The place where this island was, it had this special area called Potter's Field, where all the people in New York City that don't have families, they bury them and they stack up the coffins. They have big bulldozers. One day Victor calls a general meeting. Everybody has to be there when there's a general meeting. He says, follow me. We all stand up, we all follow him. We're like little kids walking. He takes us to Potter's Field. We're all standing there, and he says, see that coffin? That's your brother. This guy had left a week ago. And he's dead because of you. And we thought, oh shit. If you had cared about him, he would be still alive. And I thought, oh man, it was true. We treated him like an asshole. We didn't like him. And I understood what he meant. If we had cared about him, he would not have left. What a lesson. We're looking at this coffin, and it's this guy that we knew. I love Victor. He's my hero. Yeah, he's my hero. I've never seen anybody care so much the way he did, willing to use anything to get you to the next step. I'm in Phoenix House with my determination. They put us into an institute for training of addiction specialists. There was a course.
Excuse me, Veeresh, is it something about your biography? I didn't know. I thought we were going to share some of your work, and somehow I feel a bit lost to be here. I didn't think to hear all this story from you.
Well, My work is my life experience, what I've experienced, and how I've learned from other teachers, and that's what I'm trying to show you right now. If you're interested in techniques and methods, then that could be another seminar. But working with people is what I'm trying to tell you right now. Where I got working with people from was at this...
It was maybe not so clear there. We thought working with people was like, as my thing, I felt that I would share something from your work and not this, like I find it's more like your story, a biography, which I'm listening, but I'm not interested in.
Well, that's fine, you can leave. I'm in this training institute. It's about 300 people in it. And I come out tops, number one. So then there was a woman from London, and she was looking for someone to start a new program. So since I came out number one, like at the military academy, they said, come to London. And they invited me. In London, I had a chance to visit all the hospitals. And I ended up, because of the psychiatrists, they knew me and the way I worked, getting referred to by all the hopeless cases. All the hopeless cases were referred to me. One time I was working with a woman and she could not pay me. But she said, I make very good marmalade jam. And you wouldn't believe it, it's the only jam that I hate. But she would come every week, travel, and she'd come with a jar of marmalade jelly. I had a whole row of marmalade jelly. Out of all the jellies, any jelly except this orangey stuff. And that's how she paid me, because she could not afford it. And my heart went out to her. I said, sure, that's sufficient payment for me. It's hard to please everybody at once, huh? Are you guys bored? You don't like what I'm saying? Huh? No, I'm talking about this woman complaining. I mean, if I could change this, man, I can go into...
It's saying a lot. Yeah. It's important.
All right.
So much love. Yeah. So much love in very different forms. I love your telling. So much wisdom.
I need a tissue, man. London. Marmalade. Marmalade. I go into Brixton in London because that's where the black people are, and I want to know what they're doing, and they're into black power. I go to one of the meetings, and every time somebody says something, right on, brother, right on. I said, oh, all right. And I'm sitting there, and I say, I invite you all to come do a group with me for free. They didn't come because they didn't think there was any value to it. You know, it seems that if you pay for something, then you get something back, and that's what it's, you know. But to offer it and say, hey, listen, I want to work with you guys. I'm doing a project here, and I want to share that with you guys. All these black people, and yes, I set up a time to meet them, and nobody showed up. I don't know, there must have been many reasons why, but they didn't show up. I was proud that the psychiatrists were referring all their hopeless cases to me. Yeah, nobody wants to work with them, I'll work with them, you know? I left Phoenix House because what they wanted in Phoenix House was they wanted the drug addicts to go back into society, to get reintegrated, get a job, have a bank account, get an alarm clock, because that's what part of going back out. You had to have an alarm clock so you could wake up, you know? And I said, that's not what I want to do with the people. That's not what I want to do with the people. And I had been invited by the Maudsley Hospital, the training hospital, psychiatric hospital, the biggest one in London. They had invited me. And I said, that's not what I want to do, readjust and reintegrate drug addicts. They said, well, what do you want them to do? I said, I want them to change. I want them to change the whole society. I said, what? I said, yes. I'm not happy to just put them back in a pocket. I want them to change society. And they thought I was crazy. I said, no, that's not the way therapy is supposed to be. You reintegrate people and they go back in. And I tell you about being in Brixton with Black Power people. Can you imagine a photograph comes out? All these little young white drug addicts are standing there in front of the house with me, and we all have our fists in the air. Can you imagine what the Maudsley Hospital thought? They thought, whoa, we got a radical in here. You know, he's not trying to just reintegrate, you know, the patient. He wants the patient to change society. He's nuts. I left. I had so much trouble with that. I went into London, and for 5 years straight, I had 2 clients in the morning, 2 clients in the afternoon. Non-stop, 5 days a week. Every weekend, I had a workshop. I never took a vacation. I wanted to know what made people tick. What was their common denominator? What was the common thing that, why people get upset and fucked up and things like that? So for 5 years, I never stopped working. Only once when I was sick. Christmas, vacation time, 2 patients in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, every weekend, non-stop. At the end of 5 years, I was exhausted. I thought, this is it. I'll never work with people again. I'm going to Okinawa, and I'm going to live there. I'm going to live there and get a family and become an Okinawan. That was it. I was exhausted working with people. 5 years straight, non-stop. It's the kind of thing I did in the military academy. Work. I'm working for a place called Quasitor. And the leader of the center one day comes back and he has these orange long johns on and an orange robe, and he's walking down the street like this. His name was Paul Lowe, but then he changed his name to Tirtha, and I see Tirtha walking in like this. And I said, oh shit, the Hare Krishna's got his ass. Yeah, I said, I used to know him as a beautiful guy. Now he's become religious. So everybody would come to my groups. I would call them, if they were sannyasins, I was really mean. I would call them, hey, carrot, you're a carrot. You got no mind. Your guru got your mind. You know, I was really terrible. And then they showed me the dynamic one day. So, and then they say, freeze. And I remember freezing in the most awkward position. Do you think the meditation leader will come over and say, hey, listen, you're in the wrong... No. I remember using the dynamic in groups, and everybody's doing the dynamic, and I go over to a woman, I say, move your ass, move it. And she started to cry. And you know what? At the end of the dynamic, she comes over and she says, I have one leg. One leg. I never interviewed people like at the hospital. The hospital model is diagnosis, treatment, aftercare. You got to know who you're working with. You got to find out about their history, not me. Come to the group, pay a fee, and you're out, you know? And this woman is struggling to do this dynamic, and she can't move, and I don't know about it. After that, I always interview people. I want to know about where they've been, what they're doing, what their medical history, what their psychiatric history, what their physical history is. I felt like I really missed. Here I am, young, this woman, she can't move, and I'm thinking she's stuck, and she doesn't want to move. And when I heard she only had one leg, I thought, I'll never, ever do that again. I will always check to find out who I am working with. I go to work in Germany. A place called Zis, very important place. I'm doing a primal. I got everybody on their back, the hands up in the air, screaming, mama, mama, mama. There's one person in the center, he's going, mama, mama. So I'm looking at him, and everybody's really into it. And then suddenly, people start to really get into it. One woman starts to really freak out, and my assistant is way across the room. I say, come. And he's so shocked. He goes running after me, and this guy in the middle going, ma, ma, ma. He steps right in his stomach. And this guy goes, yeah! He thinks it's a technique. And I said, oh shit, we've damaged this guy. Oh man. After the session, he thanked me. What a mistake that was. I thought, ooh, that wasn't good, you know? Yes, if you like. Sure.
Yeah, you know, then we have to.
Up, yeah, okay. 5 years, exhausted, working with people. I'm on my way to Okinawa. My friends bring me black stuff, Japanese shoes. I'm feeling like kung fu and all that stuff. And in walks my ex-wife, and she knows me. She says, Veeresh, if you're going to Okinawa, how about if you stop off in Pune? I felt like, wait a second, this is a setup. I said, nope. She said, if you go, and you're able to stop off, would you go to Pune? I said, sure, okay, if it's possible. If I could arrange a ticket, I'll go, you know. She says, how about if you go meet Osho? I said, I was getting very, very suspicious now, because I'm wondering why she's asking me all these questions. I'm dressed in black, I'm ready to go do my kung fu numbing. And she says, if you meet him, I said, wait a second, now you already got me meeting him, you know? She said, if you meet him, would you become a sannyasin? And then I went all the way back. I said, if on my way to Okinawa, I can stop off in India, and if I'm in India, I can go to Pune, and if I can see Osho, and if he asks me to become a sannyasin, maybe I'll do it. I got to check him out first, you know? And then she got me. She says, well, then do it now. And she screamed at me. And I thought, and I heard this big no. And then I said, okay. Because I said, what am I afraid of? What am I afraid of? She was ready. She has this very loud orange Tibetan robe on. She puts it on me. She puts a mala on me. And she said, from now on, your name is Swami X. I said, what? I'm standing in the middle of London trying to catch a cab. This Tibetan robe is moving. I don't understand why nobody stops, man, you know? And I said, I got to go to India. I got to go see this guy. I got to go check him out, see if this is really what I want to do. I arrive. There's 12 people there in Darshan, 12 people. I'm sitting in the back, and I'm checking him out. And he says, come forward. I come forward, and he says, what's your name? And I said to myself, oh, shit, I travel all the way here. He gives me a name, and he doesn't know who I am. So I said, my name is Anant. That's what you gave me as a name. And I'm Spanish, and I can't pronounce it. It sounds like Anant. And I was so nervous. And he starts to laugh. And then he says, can you pronounce Veeresh? I thought, oh, shit, that's worse than Anant. I want a name like Shiva. And he, Veeresh. And then he says, Veeresh is one of the many names for Shiva. And he hooked me. That's when I got hooked. Oh. I spoke about training. What do I train people to do? I train people to get involved. I don't just train a method, a technique. I get involved. Just like Mike Zerkel got involved with me. Just like the different teachers, they shared their heart with me. If I see something I don't like, I call it. I interfere. I project my being. Hey, I don't like that. Try something new. I was in Brazil. I was doing a group in Brazil, and a woman didn't like it that I was giving my personal opinion. So what the hell do you think I am? A scientific instrument? I stand back and I watch you go through the process, and if you're not doing it right, I'm supposed to just allow it? No, that's not my way of working. If I see something and I don't like it, I call it. Right or wrong, it doesn't matter. I get involved. Suki. Where's Suki? Suki, before we came, we had a general meeting, like in Phoenix House, and I started to scream at Suki. Suki, I don't want you to act like you don't exist, that you don't have a right. I want you to act like you have a right. When you come to Pune with me, I want you to act like my friend instead of, I don't know how to behave. And I was screaming at her because I wanted to get the message. I wanted to change. Other therapists have other ways of working, but that's my way. If I see you with your face in shit, I'm not going to say, oh, that's too bad. Look at this process. I will pick you up. I will pick you up and say, hey, man, it's the wrong way. Do it this way. So what I'm doing at the Humaniversity, I teach my therapists, Pavita, Premdi, Ganda, Giti, that who you are is just as important as the process. It's just as important as a technique. And if you want to be playing objective instrument, you know, the psychoanalysts believe they should not contaminate the process. If they contaminate the process, it's called counter-transference. The patient is supposed to lay all their shit on you, and you're supposed to say, you write it down, you know? For the therapist to say, hey, I don't like that, that's called counter-transference, and somewhere along the line they said that's not good. I don't believe that. I like Willem Reich. He used to touch his patients. I read about that. I said, wow, this guy is involved. He's involved. I like that. That's my way. It's always been my way. I learned that way. I share my heart. I share my way of being. I share my life experiences. I wish I could give you a new theory, you know, say, hey, this is a new theory and kind of stuff. There is no new theory in me. There's no new theories really in Humaniversity. It's, hey, who you are, that's what I want. That's what I want you to share. I want you to be involved. If you don't like something, I tell them, I want you to interfere with it rather than lie back and say, oh, fuck, they're really missing the process, you know? And I don't care if it's a mistake. If you get involved and it was technically incorrect, I don't care. so long as you get involved. I'd rather you get involved and make a mistake rather than just stand back at the side and say, oh, wow, you know, that's what's going on. And that's my great theory. Be a human being. In Phoenix House, they told me the most important tool you have in working with people is compassion. After you scream your fucking lungs out at them and you try to give them direction to go into, you have to always fill it in at the end with compassion. The person is not a bad person. He acts stupid. He thinks stupid. He does stupid things, but as a human being, you have to always relate to that. Or else the person's going to end up being a cripple because you've screamed at them and you've left them that way. If you're working with people, share your heart, share your way of being, share your experiences. Hug the person if you can. Identify with the person. Don't put them down. You know, they've been put down already so much. They need you to lift them up. They need you to reassure them that they're okay. I've never seen anybody working with people the way Osho works with people. Over and over, he was giving the same message. I'm not so concerned about your behavior. I'm concerned about you, your inner being. I love that. Every sannyasin that ever came to him, I love you for who you are. What you do is crazy. You know, what you do is crazy. We all know that. And he kept that same thing. I've never seen unconditional love like that. I mentioned this before, I would like to mention it now. There was a point where I felt like the sannyasins didn't accept me, people walking out, and the professionals didn't accept me. So my family doesn't accept me, and the professional world doesn't accept me. I'm working in a psychiatric hospital, the psychiatrists don't like me. I'm walking around with a mala, looking like a carrot, you know. And they say, how did he get in here, you know? So my colleagues at this psychiatric hospital, they didn't accept me. Osho was so amazing. I wrote him a question in Rajneeshpuram. I said, listen, I'm a misfit, man. My own friends, sannyasins, they don't like the work that I'm doing because it's too tough. The professionals don't like me. I need you to reassure me that I'm okay. And he answered the question, Veeresh, I've always been a misfit. It's okay to be a misfit. And I cried. I needed that because I was really in a bind. I didn't know what to do, you know. Can you imagine? I changed the name of my house because Sheila says change it. She said close it. Right? I said, I'm not closing anything. We were Grotto Rajneesh one day. The next day we became the Humaniversity. Half my staff walked out and half the community walked out because suddenly from one day to the next day I'm not doing his work or something like that. I was really in a turmoil. I mean, I'm really lost here. I don't know what to do. He said, Veeresh, I'm a misfit too. It's okay. You know, misfits are beautiful. You don't fit, that's okay, you know? Once I wanted to give up being a therapist. I went to him in Rajneeshpuram and said, listen, I violated being a therapist. I've abused a person. It's not good. I can't work with people. He gives me a long story about man's inhumanity to man. Over the last 200 years, 3,000 years, man has always been at war. And I'm feeling, oh man, this is terrible. He's going to put me in the kitchen to chop vegetables. I can see this. And you know, I was ready. I was ready to do it, you know. And at the end, he blows my mind. He says, Veeresh, I want you to train the best therapist in the world. And I cried. Instead of getting thrown out, I said, if that's what you want, I will try. If that's what you want, I will try. And since then, that's what I've been doing. I've been trying in my way, not everybody else's way, but in my way. Wherever I go, Osho's in my heart, man. That's what gives me the motivation not to give up, to keep going. And I like that about me. That's my man. And I make a lot of mistakes. I look back and I say, I wish I had done it better. But my heart has been there. I keep this woman walking out. I wish I could say, this is the technique, you know. And in this technique, you use this approach and free association and counter-transference and transference. I can't give you that. I can't. It's not the way. Yes, I could, but my primary way of working with people is to share who I am. And I find that people like that, they appreciate it. And I don't expect the whole world to say, hey, Veeresh, you're doing it correctly. No, I don't expect that. When I die, I want it to be recorded. Swaminam Veeresh, a man of Osho. And I don't care what anybody thinks. He loved and he was loved by many. That's it. That's my claim to fame. A man wants me to train the best therapist in the world, I'm going to do it. And I don't care whether people like it, my approach, or not. It's not what I'm here for. I'm here to give you my heart, my love, everything I am. That's it, sorry. Theories, techniques, yes, I can give you that too, but that's not me.